It's time for a little Funky Friday. From their funky hidden headquarters, your hosts, Keith and Gary. Not Jerry.
I was playing tug of war with Bill. I had him center screen and he caught me. Yeah. There you are. Hey, Bill. I not only did that, but I was going to start it and have him like that.
Oh, heck no. Oh, no. Mom is here. Goodbye.
So anyway, before the show, he saw the thumbnail. This is the thumbnail for today's show.
Don't.
No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
No.
And he asked me, who is that on the left there? Why is Kieran Bug in drag?
Oh my goodness, really?
There's Kieran.
There is a resemblance.
I know, it's so fucked up.
Oh, my God.
I'm so sorry, Karen.
I'm sorry, Kieran.
Throw me under the bus.
Bill was not being mean. He's like, why is Kieran in drag? This is so fucking funny.
Oh, my God, Kieran, we love you.
Friday, we do love Kieran. And right now, he's not here. I'm not sure if I'm going to bug him for a while because his grandmother is in bad shape. And send out your prayers and good wishes to him. Him and his family. It's a rough time for them right now.
Yeah.
So, but and Mikey, don't send any good wishes to Mikey Sutton because he's busy with his TV show. He's all fancy now with his own show, so he doesn't have time for us. We love Mikey.
Well, that's okay. I don't watch TV
really
anymore anyway.
Who does? Who does? I did watch the first episode, by the way, deleted. I watched the first episode of Skull Island. Mm-hmm. And I liked it. It's the standard Warner Brothers style, DC style animation. Mm-hmm. The same stuff you see in modern Scooby-Doo, stuff like that. It's very similar to anime, but totally different. And of course, Warner Brothers has some of the most recognizable background washes. I can always spot a Warner Brother background when they're doing animation. Arwen is here. I hope Arwen is doing well. I haven't checked. How is the campaign going, Arwen? I hope going well, and I hope you're doing well. Who else is here? Let's see. Who is here? Let's go back to the beginning. Andy Morrow is here. Sox Bulletin is here. Sox was apparently the first person. There we go. Let's see. Bush is here. He's How is Bush simulcasting? How is that happening? He's got that link thing on his too. That was for you, deleted.
I don't see it on my screen that he's got. I just see mine.
John, do you see it? It's got a link thing next to his
I see the
avatar.
The link.
I'm curious.
The chain link looking thing.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing it on my. I'm not seeing it on mine.
I'm not. Yeah, there is one. He doesn't have it. He does have it up at the top, but he doesn't on later ones.
That's weird.
Anyway,
Penny is here. Stream. Peter Vinkman Fanside is here. Hello, how you doing, Vinkman's girl? Love of my life. I'm confused. Is here. There she is. Do it now.
And now it's back.
Monkey Jubas is here. Thank you. Come again. And of course, the lovely Arwen Avalon. Let's see who else has joined us. I don't want to miss anybody. Did I get everybody? I think I got everyone. Yep. We have everyone. There are your papers, please. So it is Friday. Keith is here. What's up, Keith? Are you coming on camera or are you going to be a Muppet today?
I'm going to be a Muppet today.
He's gonna be a Muppet. Goddamn Muppets.
Not enough brother Muppets out there, if you know what I'm saying.
They're Muppets. I suspect not Rolf, but Dr. Teeth. Is that his name?
Yeah.
I think he's the first true black Muppet.
Well, he's got a little black in him.
But where, we don't know. It was up inside of him. It was a hand. No. By the way, did anybody else catch the pilot episode of Secret Invasion?
I think I had something more important to do, like my hair or something. So,
we have lives, Gary.
I'm done. What's that?
I said we have lives. We don't have time for Marvel.
And I'm going to tell you, I watched it with Scott and Don. I mean, he nagged me. He's like, come on, have your dinner in here. I'm like, all right. So I go in there because, I want to be antisocial and go be in the studio. So I sat down with him and we watched it. And it was okay. I was a little put off by two things in it. Two major characters that I liked dead in the first episode. Murdered. I'm like, motherfucker.
Let me guess.
Keith? Were you going somewhere with that?
I think
Did we lose him?
lost. Yeah.
Okay. I can't tell when it's a Muppet. I can't tell Muppets. So I don't know. Rolf isn't, I don't consider Rolf. I mean, I don't know, man. I just have, Rolf doesn't sound like a brother to me, while Dr. Teeth does. He sounds like a couple of guys I played in bands with. But you were about to say something, Keith, before you were so rudely booted.
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
I got
There were words coming out of my mouth.
And now they are no longer thou.
So two major characters died, and you said, was it? And then you left. What were you thinking? Or what joke were you going to make?
Was one of them Stan Lee and the other one no. Anyway, look, there's so much damage that's been done to the MCU right now. I've about had it. And
well, I'm done. I am done. I'm not going to watch anymore.
As much as I like Sam Jackson's portrayal of his particular famous character, it's just the fact that it's painful to watch this stuff now, knowing that they, in many ways, they're just pretty much flying by the seat of their pants at this point. Nobody has any idea of anything. And we all know that Kevin Feige is not really in charge. So what's the point?
Who is in charge now? Do we know?
It's a Muppet. I'm going to keep using that as an answer because I think even the truth is worse.
That's a question I have because, like you said, obviously Feige is not in charge. Alonso's gone. Who does that leave? Who is in charge? Is anybody in charge?
No.
I mean,
Feige's in charge, but here's the thing. He's doing way more now than he started out doing when everything started. Okay? He's in charge of so much that he's having to delegate a lot of stuff. And again, I just want to say there's absolutely no way that anything gets done without his approval. So even if he wasn't directly involved with something, he approved of it. And so after the Russo brothers have had to say what they wanted to say about working with Feige, and a few other people have talked and said a few things, I'm of the opinion, and I did start out this way, Gary can back it up, that Feige's so-called knowledge of Marvel only extends so far. I think it
No,
only
you
goes.
you were the one who told me that, and I went back to look, and it's like you're right. He doesn't precede anything in the 1980s. There's nothing.
Yeah. So I think, in other words, one of those people pulled the wool over our eyes collectively. He had some success, made some movies that we enjoyed, and he probably pretty much thought he could coast the rest of the way. And obviously, that's not true. I
mean,
know. Believe me.
I don't claim to be an expert on comics either, but I'm someone who knows good when they read it and when they see it. And what's going on with Marvel right now, every time somebody has a complaint about, okay, the character wouldn't do this or that storyline happened differently, I might not know that because maybe I didn't read it, but I'll believe it, because how could Marvel have been popular as a comic for so many years with this kind of storytelling? I can tell from that alone.
Well, I mean, it's
that
like
the films
with
have gone
anything.
so far away from it.
The thing about it is that the original group that you had that were vitally important to phase 1 and 2 and 3 of the MCU, they're not there anymore. That's the big thing. The only person that's still there is Feige and a few other individuals that worked high up with him, but that's it. All your creative people are gone. And so, yeah, that shows you how important all of those people were to what we were all enjoying. And let me just say this, even with the problems that he has, Joss Whedon would still be preferable in many respects with what he was able to do compared to the people that they're letting be in charge right now. Look, I would rather see, if they were to tomorrow say that Joss Whedon was going to be directing an MCU movie about paint drying on a wall, I'd watch that.
I'd watch that too.
I wouldn't watch the Marvels, but I'd watch that. So I don't. It's a mess right now, and it's a mess that's not going to get any better, because Marvel, like Disney, they don't do well with the whole "let's talk about our problems" thing. Meanwhile, David Zaslav and Warner Brothers, they'll throw people under the bus and brag about it. They don't care.
I'll tell you another thing. Going back to the Russos for a second, and I mean, after Extraction 2, they don't need Marvel. Just keep doing what they're doing,
That's right. I wish Citadel had worked out during its first season better, but now that they're getting a season 2, as soon as the writer's strike is over, they'll be able to work on that and prove how good they were. Look,
it's a very good show, I got to tell you.
Yeah. I wish more people were watching it. I think they even had more people watching their final episode than people that were able to actually finish Rings of Power.
But while we're in this area, let's go ahead and bring up the Acolyte, Star Wars Acolyte. Like Marvel, like Star Wars, I just stopped giving a shit. Just don't care. Look, there's a subversive nature to a lot of this stuff. Kathleen Kennedy does her best to bury things so people don't know just how bad things really are. But the fact is, we're all pretty much aware of how fucked up everything is, because I know for a fact that Star Wars has been in the red from the very beginning. They have never turned a profit of Star Wars at all. They have, just as soon as they start to get close to getting caught up, she doubles the budget on a film by firing people and having to reshoot most of it. It's our good buddy Matt Vader.
Hey, Matt.
Indeed.
What's up, guys?
Are those your real eyes, or is that the app?
No, these are my real eyes. They're pretty, huh?
Pretty.
Blue eyes.
You're
It's my best
sexy.
feature. I'm dreamy, right?
You are so dreamy.
All right, Acolyte, carry on.
Well, basically, I talked to Cameron Pasha last night, and some of the stuff I can tell you, some of the stuff I can't tell you, because I suspected certain things. But I'll tell you this part. Let me read to you this part. I can't read the rest of it because he asked me to stay off the record. They have been hiding the fake acolyte show for months, and nobody's asking any question. When he says nobody, he means people whose job it is to ask.
Mhm.
You know, journalists. You know, at legitimate entertainment magazines.
Mhm.
Nobody's asking those questions because they're bought and paid for. They're shills. And she still owns a lot. This is one thing he and I talked about. She has a lot of ownership. And you think, well, Bob Iger's the boss. So, well, au contraire. Remember the shit that went down with Hamada when David Zaslav was his fucking boss. And we were still getting all that anti-Zaslav, pro-Hamada shit. Remember that in the media?
Yeah.
You know, and so it's the same thing here. And that's why I was so surprised when we saw what happened with Forbes, when that green light was given by Bob Iger for that story to come forward that basically eviscerates Kathleen Kennedy on what a shitty job she's been doing, because they have been in the red since the beginning. She has never turned a profit once for Disney and the shareholders, not once. All she has been is an expense. That's all she is. And that's all Lucasfilm has been, is an expense for Disney. Well, that only goes so far. Our own, Mikey Canal, Mexican Iron Man, did the math, sat down on paper. He's an accountant. That's what he does.
Yep.
I would put him even as high as a forensic accountant. This guy really knows his numbers, man. And he sat down and said they only have 278 million liquid assets right now to spend.
That's it. Really?
Valiant Renegade
Wow.
did the numbers, and he crunched it with Mikey and everyone else. And the Walt Disney Corporation as a whole, it's in talking about this past year and all the films they released, it's a $2.75 billion investment.
Yeah.
Okay. All the movies that they've had so far, $2.75 billion investment, and they're not getting hardly a lot of that back.
Yeah.
You can only have
they're
money.
Still in the red with Disney, with Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm has not turned a profit once. When they think, oh, the movie did well in the theater, it doesn't make up for the money spent.
Yep.
They've not made up for the money spent. I had one idiot, you remember the guy that unfriended you and me, because he says, well, this one film, I can't remember Solo or which one he was talking about. I think it was the other one, Rebel, where they go to steal the plans. Rogue One. He's like,
Rogue One.
Rogue some money. And Force Awakens. I said, yeah, you're only looking at the $4.5 billion it costs to buy Star Wars. You're not including the budget and marketing of the films. Do you not know how this shit works? Why do we keep having to explain this shit to you guys? It's simple fucking math.
It's basic business. It's basic business math is what it is.
What was that, Matt?
I was gonna say it's the production cost plus the marketing cost plus I think a lot of people don't understand that, the theaters, the money come into the theaters, the studio only gets what, 40 or 50% of that back, and
because of Lucas, it's changed a little bit. Remember that Lucas is the one who created that thing with the prequel series. So now when Star Wars goes into a theater, a majority of the money goes to not the theater, but studio. For so long as it's what do they call it? It's not a moratorium, but it's like there's a hold on ticket sales for so many weeks. And then after that, the theater starts to make money. Well, again, theater's primary income is from concessions, which is why they charge.
So we should start waiting to watch a movie after it's been out 3 weeks or so before we buy it.
If you want to hurt, that's what I did. I refused to see a Star Wars film until 3 weeks went by.
Yeah, I've kind of decided when it comes to some of these movies that I have issues with. I don't like to be a statistic. I don't want to be an opening week statistic. I don't want my dollars. I don't want my dollars going into that big opening weekend. I'll go. I'll be in the drop off weekend. The next week. Just so
exactly. It's the same way.
So my $50 doesn't go in there. It's just how I kind of am with some of this stuff. No, depending on the show.
Because that's the same thing I do with Kurtzman Trek. I won't watch it when the show's fresh. I refuse to be a statistic for them, a
Right.
number to be counted.
I get it.
And but anyway, Cameron Pasha and I were talking, and Cameron said they have been hiding the fake Acolyte show for months, and nobody is asking questions of why. My source says that the plan is to simply stop talking about Headland, and that's what they do. They'll just stop talking about somebody, and then it's like
Just gonna ghost her.
Yeah, it
So-
goes, and
yeah.
nobody will think anything about it.
Who?
It's like
Who's
they
that?
won't think
Oh.
she's gone.
That person. Yeah.
But
okay.
he does stand by his insiders that she is absolutely gone. He gave me more information I can't tell you, but let me see if there's.
Well, that's just me, Gary.
Well, he asked me not to. He did. Have you ever wondered why the trades are protecting Kennedy from embarrassment? Which I know why, because it's the same thing with Hamada. It's the exact same relationship because they pay them is why.
Mm-hmm.
The studios are bought into these magazines, Movie Web in particular. You know, what's the other one that's owned by CBS? What is it, Keith?
That's CBR.
CBR is owned by the parent company involved in which is Viacom. So it's just shenanigans all around, and you've got to really parse through. And they expect people not to notice. Well, people are talking about Leslie Headland. We'll just stop talking about her. Stop responding. They'll forget about it. They'll
Be
forget.
Like, beside Kathy getting canned, that would be the best thing that ever happened to Lucasfilm. Just getting rid of her. You know.
Well, Kennedy in particular, and she's earned it. She's worked really hard to get.
She's
fired.
just another Kathleen hardcore feminist Kennedy. That's all she.
Oh,
is.
you're talking about Leslie?
Leslie Headland is. Yeah, she's.
No, she's worse.
She is.
Yeah,
so
she's probably
horrible as
is.
a human being. She is.
Yeah,
she's not only an enabler to a person who is a womanizer and rapist.
Mm-hmm.
She also is directly related to helping groom and set up girls for him.
Yeah,
she acts like she's innocent, but the fact is no, you turned a blind eye and you helped enable this guy to do what he did. She's a scumbag, and
she also got away with
the movie.
Well, and she also got away with making sure that a lot of her tweets disappeared the day before she was announced as becoming employed by Disney.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and sometimes, look, I'm going to put it out there. Like Ryan Johnson scrubbed his Twitter too, but not for the reasons you think or wonder. His was scrubbed because he's a fucking troll. Him and two of his friends. And I was watching this guy because I love his movies, early films, Brick and all that shit. So I followed him on Twitter, and that cocksucker hates nerds.
Yeah.
Him and his friends, they just go up there and all they do is they troll him. They would troll him. So yeah, there were 20,000 plus fucking tweets that he had to delete and scrub because it showed.
I'd probably have to scrub a good 9,000.
Oh man,
tweets
I will never
to get rid
job.
of my troll tweets. I'm a troll on Twitter. I find great enjoyment and have a lot of fun poking people on Twitter sometimes because Twitter's so dumb and stupid most of the time. It's just, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. You know, it's just on my personal account, I get great enjoyment of sitting in the coffee shop with my coffee and scrolling through this thing and going, oh, okay. Yeah. You know, it's a hobby. It is. It's a hobby, but I own it. I am what I am. You know, it's mostly truths that I say in there, and it is what it is, man. Deal with it.
Yeah.
If you don't like me, don't follow me, right? So
hey, Pacific 414 posted their what do they call it? Their circle thing, and I'm in there. Pop Culture Minefield. Let's see if Matt Vader's in there.
Probably not.
Mikey's in there.
Yeah.
Fat Steven's in there. Arwin is in there. I'm looking for Salty Nerds or you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
That's
Probably not.
Weird.
Yeah. I don't think those things are accurate, to be honest with you.
Well, they're actually. I think they're who you go check out, not who
but,
checks you
but
out.
most of you and me's interaction is in back channels. We're in the DMs. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was going to go
Matt,
because
you say you slide into his DMs.
I do. Yeah, all the time.
You slide in hard or soft.
You know, it depends. I whatever mood you're in, man. You know, so.
Oh my god!
And on that note,
So
they don't
I'm
know
gonna
us
say
at
that
all.
You told me last
They
night.
don't know us at all.
this is my post from last night. I'm like, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg
God.
agreed to hold cage fight on the BBC, and I was
That's the
like, I
dumbest
wrote, "What in the living fuck? Are we in the Matrix now? Seriously, what the fuck is this?" And I love the thread itself because, like, immediately 32 flavors of Nick Weiser responds, "Sad but true, but Zuck the cuck would most likely win." To
Yeah.
which I responded, what did I say? First, I said this one. I'll take Musk because I have a sneaking feeling he fights like Jim Carrey. Well, hopefully smarter because he
Well,
throws a
Musk
her
will
face.
probably win because it'll be a cloned fighter bot of
Right.
Elon Musk, and nobody will know it.
Well,
He's just gonna go out there and be Keanu Reeves in the Matrix
Nah.
and just kick his ass.
I'd still say Musk is gonna have a team hacking Zuckerberg.
But isn't
Oh.
Zuckerberg like a legit martial
Zuckerberg?
artist now? Isn't he like a? Isn't he into,
Zuckerberg
like,
studies jujitsu. Yeah,
he goes
but-
out there and gets his ass kicked in tournaments and cries about it, right?
Elon Musk doesn't make everything public that he does.
Right,
I bet
right,
you
right.
he studies something too. He's out of shape because he's got a dad bod, but that doesn't mean he can't tone up and fucking.
No, I
Look at this.
legitimately
Can you
I
see this?
legitimately remember Zuckerberg losing a fight or something, and it was in the socials, and he threw a temper tantrum or something because he didn't like the referee's call. And
Yeah, imagine that.
it was somebody's gonna have to find that, but it was pretty funny.
So here it is. Age difference, weight difference is huge.
Yeah.
But the height difference too is
Yeah.
huge. And then like reach, that's amazing.
Elon Musk is 6'2".
Yeah, he's 6'2" with a 71-inch reach. While good old Zuck Lizard, because he's one of those alien lizards.
Yeah, oh yeah.
51-inch
Android
reach. He has 51-inch reach.
Guess Elon just has to sit on him and it'll be over.
Exactly. And he said that, by the way. Elon actually said that all you got to do is lay on you like a walrus.
So basically,
Elon's
we're talking Elon Kirk versus Mark Data. Got it.
Yeah.
It would have to be a better fight than what Boogie and that other dude got into a couple weeks ago, right?
Right.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Oh man, that was
I didn't.
That was awful. So awful.
So right here it says Shrimp Lightning, Pat. It says Zuck is going to win. He's some kind of judo nut or something.
Yeah.
To which I responded with this classic, haha, Crom laughs at you for wins.
That's good.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if that'll happen. I don't know, but they seem to be talking about it seriously, the two of them.
Yeah.
So I'd fucking watch it. That's sort of like that episode of Celebrity Deathmatch, or the real
In
one.
real life Celebrity Deathmatch, but
When
real.
Horseshack went up against Screech in real life.
Oh my god.
And Screech beat the shit out of poor Horseshack.
Like ooh 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 ooh.
Yeah.
That guy?
Yeah,
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Carter,
Raffaello
yeah.
was like in his 50s or 60s.
God.
Yeah, he was older.
So,
And
yeah,
then
he's a
fucking
he's a
Screech
lot
was in
older.
shape. He went and
Yeah,
trained a little bit.
Who's
They
alive
both still
still?
hit like girls.
Who's alive still?
Good
Neither.
point.
Yeah.
Dead. They're both gone, aren't they?
Maybe you and I should
No,
have a fight. Gary.
Horseshack he's still alive.
Celebrity death match between Matt Vader and Gary.
Yeah. That would sell 3 tickets.
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
or 4.
3 or 4.
That'll pay us for a year for what we
Yeah.
make on the shows.
It's never gonna happen. Don't even make it a thing, guys. I'm joking.
You can find
But,
the T-shirts on.
Matt Vader in this quarter.
I'd be winded in about 12 seconds. Jesus Christ.
So, what are we going to move on to next? There's so many little subjects I want to. Let's look at the thumbnail again. Oh, Yellowstone.
Take it off.
Yellowstone.
Make it go away. Jesus. I can't stand looking at her.
Yeah, well, you heard earlier.
She's-
Bill asked.
No,
He says,
don't.
"Who is
Oh,
it on the
my.
left?" That looks like Kieran in drag. Kieran Bug
Okay.
from Geekosity,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
that's
Sorry,
Leslie
Kieran.
Edward. We love.
Gary, we want Kieran to be back on the show.
Yes.
Please, stop it.
Come back. So let's see. Matthew McConaughey leads. Let me. I didn't share. Let me share. Share screen. Beakity-boo. Burka-durka-dur. Burka. There we go. Matthew McConaughey leads a Yellowstone spinoff with fresh cast of characters. I can tell you how this went down just by
Nice.
this news, that there was a lot of backing of Kevin Costner by the other cast, solidarity.
Yeah.
And they said, all right, fine, we'll just start new. And that's what happened. Because the creator, Taylor Sheridan's been in hot water with Paramount. When you see the trades go after Taylor Sheridan, who is the only creator at Paramount right now, creating stuff that's making money,
Yep.
that,
Stuff that mainstream wants to watch, just not us nerds, right?
yeah.
People like my wife. She
Well,
loves Yellowstone, man.
I love Yellowstone. I watch the shit out of anything
Yeah, me
Taylor
too.
writes. And it's so much better than it and SEAL Team are the only things that I watch on Paramount. And it's good stuff. And Taylor Sheridan and SEAL Team are the only ones making money. Star Trek is still in the red with Paramount.
Yeah.
They've not made a fucking
Way
dime.
in the red.
You know, it's a loss. It's a complete loss at this point. So they've got to keep putting money into Sheridan. Sheridan, after getting eviscerated by the media over his personal overspending, which I call bullshit on, he's just not wanting to fuck around right now. And there was a beef between him and Costner because Costner didn't want to work that 1 week, that last week. He was contracted for, how many weeks was it? 6 weeks? And he worked 5. And he thought that was enough. He needed the extra week for his family because his marriage is going in the tank.
Right.
So it didn't work out, and he held his ground, and Taylor Sheridan was forced to be a badass and said, that's it. We're going with Matthew McConaughey with the new run of the series. And then I'm guaranteeing you that the major co-stars on the show stood with Costner.
Oh, sure.
And that's why
100%.
this is happening.
So what's this new show about? Is it like, are they moving forward? Is it a prequel again? Is it 1953?
I am going to tell
What is
you that I believe this is going to be current, that this is the other side of the family that's going to be alluded to. They put delays on the new the 1923 series. I'm going to bet the delays were in order to update the writing to explain Matthew McConaughey's character. And I'm telling you, that's what they're doing. Yeah. And Matthew McConaughey is going to be from another side of the Dutton family. And what's his name? Kevin Costner's character is John Dutton. John Dutton is, I believe he's going to get killed in the show.
Really?
The series has been moving towards 2 major deaths. The first one being between, let me get the names, cast Yellowstone, because I always forget the name.
So, William.
How you guys doing?
Hey, William. So there's been a fight from season 1 to today between Jamie Dutton and Beth Dutton on Yellowstone.
Right.
And this latest season, halfway through, he'd had his fill when she threatened to take his kid from him. I'm going to take your son. She just flat out says, I'm going to take your son, and there's nothing you can do about it. And she gets out of the car drunk, staggering away, and he drives right at her like he's going to hit her. And at the last second, he decides not to. He's going to fucking kill her.
I'm trying to figure it out. I got the Dutton family tree pulled up on my other monitor over here. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, there's this blank area between the characters of 1923 to their direct relationship to John Dutton, the current John Dutton with Kevin Costner. So it's really not sure, because I think they're fucking, why they're taking a break. I don't think it has anything to do. It's clearly not COVID. They're taking a break in order to fix the scripts. And of course, we got screenwriters thing going on right now.
I have a quick question, though, as someone who is not as versed in Yellowstone as I would like to be. What happened to, or was there any validity to the show that was supposed to take place in the 1960s starring Kurt Russell? What happened to that?
Never heard anything about that.
Never heard of it.
No.
Never heard anything.
Probably wasn't true.
I would lay odds, no. But I'm telling you, if they could get him, whoa, man, Kurt Russell, the shit. So, but Jamie is a messed up character. And I really think that he's messed up because of the way he was raised by the Duttons and in the environment that he was in. It's a very corrosive, toxic environment. But I love this show, man. It's so well written. Greatest character, and there's a fucking murderer, Rip Taylor, played by Cole Hauser. Cole Hauser's a badass dude.
And I don't see where they're going to put him in here on this tree. I don't see it.
Who, Kevin Costner's character? Dutton?
No. All right guy.
I don't know. I'm telling you, they're going to split it off, and there's family in another area of the country.
Doesn't matter. As long as it's good, I don't really care.
Because there is something, because Anna and I watched the show together, 1923, and we started really trying to do the math, and it's like, if they have a kid, who is that going to become? You know, and we're just sitting there going, wow, they could go a lot of different directions. So I think they're rethinking some things to retool it to make, to show where the family got split up, and that there is another Dutton out there down in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
This is Dallas. This
is
modern day Dallas.
This is Dallas if it was written by actual fucking writers.
But on top of that, they needed to have another son. You know, everybody got used to having, you know, the two sons on Dallas. Turns out there was a third son who they wrote in, who they eventually spun off into his own series called Knots Landing. So I mean, it's the same situation. You needed a spinoff. You wrote in someone to be able to branch off and have another TV show. It happens a lot.
And you got a big name with McConaughey, so
ABC did the same thing with Dynasty when they spun off to make the Colbys. And who did they get to lead that family? They found Chuck Heston. Okay, come on. So
you just should take a long time to say goodbye.
So he's going to be a Dutton. Do we know this for sure, or is?
Yeah, that's been confirmed. If you want to, I'll read you what they've got here.
Yeah.
Taylor Sheridan, Yellowstone creator, shares McConaughey will set a new trail for the upcoming Yellowstone spinoff. The expansive Yellowstone universe is gearing up to ride into uncharted territories with the new spinoff starring the charismatic Matthew McConaughey. The beloved Western drama Yellowstone is hanging up its spurs after a thrilling 5-season run. The show's creator, Taylor Sheridan, couldn't have chosen a better time to pass the torch with the announcement of an untitled spinoff as the sun sets on the Dutton family story in Yellowstone. Now, here's where things get interesting. Initially, the spinoff was dubbed a sequel. This led to a fervent speculation among fans that the original cast members of Yellowstone would make a triumphant return. However, Sheridan dropped subtle hints that we might be in for something entirely different. Sheridan suggests the spinoff could introduce fresh faces and characters to the audience. I love how iffy everything is here. I love that in the writing. Maybe not. And that's not all. Sheridan also alluded to the possibility of the spinoff being set in a location other than the iconic Yellowstone Ranch. During an interview with Hollywood Reporter, Sheridan said, quote, McConaughey seems like a natural fit. We had a few conversations over the years and spitballed a few ideas. Then he started watching Yellowstone and responded to it. He was like, quote, I want to do that. And by that, he meant driving into a raw world clashing up against the modern world. And then I said, buddy, that we can do. My idea of a spinoff, Sheridan continued, is the same as my idea for a prequel. Read into what you will. There's a lot of places where a way of life that existed for 150 years is slamming against a new way of life, but the challenges are completely different. There are a lot of places you can still tell this story. And I like that. I like what he's saying there because, look, the first real stories about the Old West, the dying of the Old West, was turn of the century. And you got a lot, Bill Money is one of my favorite films. Both Chuck Heston's version and then later Tom Selleck did a re-adaptation of it from the book. And not Money, Penny. William Penny.
Will Penny.
Yeah. And both films are great, but it's about that clash of the modern world encroaching onto the world of the Old West with these cowboys. And you find a lot of these guys, and it was a sad, tragic truth is So many guys that were used to riding the range ended up riding fences. And I don't know if you know what that means. That means they weren't being cowboys anymore. They were just going out and mending fences.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And that's no life for a cowboy. Cowboys did what they did out of love for riding the horses and handling cattle. It's a passionate career.
Mm-hmm.
And but we still have them, but there's so few. And as modern society spreads out further, and you see this with most metropolises, you look at, like, a good example, Oklahoma City. Okay. Oklahoma City, by sheer size, not by population, is the largest city in the United States. Why? Because it consumed every small city and township around it. It's all now, it's called metropolitan Oklahoma City. Same thing with Phoenix. Phoenix used to just be Phoenix, and then you had Scottsdale and all of that. I grew up there. Now it goes all the way out to from South Mountain to North Mountain, all the way out to Superstition Mountain. It's all metropolitan Phoenix. The city just consumes everything.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like that, the way the Old West, because a prime example of Phoenix as it grew was Gilbert, Arizona. That was a rancher town, cowboys. I remember driving out there. There was one road, Gilbert Road. It was a dirt road. There was no pavement. I remember that as a kid. They had cowboys out there. You had saloons. People driving. They didn't ride their horses into the saloon, but those were all cowboys that ate and drank there. And Metropolis, Phoenix proper, consumed it, and now there's no ranches in Gilbert. It's further out. It just so that's really what I think that he's at the crux with here in the storytelling, is he's trying to get at how there's this clash of trying to stay alive as something from the Old West,
Mm-hmm.
as the new comes in. We saw it with Yellowstone for 5 seasons, and they would end up killing the people. And seriously, it was like The Sopranos, dude.
Yeah, it is. That's what I like about the show. It is like this, kind of like The Sopranos.
It is. It's brutal.
Yeah,
and
I think that's what everybody likes about it. Because my wife, she's a addict to it because she likes her soap operas, and
it is very very
it's a
soap opera like.
It's a very much a soap opera, but it's got the cool stuff in it too that guys like us can watch.
Yeah,
it's got the mobster stuff too. It's the perfect mix of.
It deals with ranch issues, Native
dramas.
American issues.
Yeah,
it touches on everything, and it's so much better. Even though you and I made that comparison to Dallas, it's so much better. It's as if they recreated Dallas, but decided to make it real, more realistic. And Beth Dutton, for every guy out there, we have all been with a woman like that, and they're terrifying, but we love to watch them. But we're like, oh my God, I'm so going to fuck her tonight, but Jesus Christ, she's going to probably kill me in the morning or something.
Yep.
And you think it's worth it. It's worth it. It's never worth it. But she is that accident you just can't take your eyes off of.
I agree. I totally agree. I know. I'm looking forward to the show. Matthew McConaughey, he's cool. I like most of his stuff. So I guess whatever happens, and I hope they can work it out. And I hope John Dutton doesn't die. I want him to be able to come back if he needs to come back. And
I guarantee you, they're going to kill him.
No, they can't. They can't kill him.
Because when you see these guys do stuff like this, so often that's the direction they go.
I bet you they kill Rip. Rip's the one that's going to die.
Oh, I hope not. Rip is like one of the greatest characters ever created for TV.
He really is.
I don't ever use this word for men. I don't adore. I adore that fucking man. The character. Word. I love Cole Hauser. I think he's a great actor. But the character of Rip, man, I adore him. I admire him, and I just want to watch nothing but him kill people. The going back, because Anna hasn't seen this yet, and I know she's watching right now. I don't want to spoil it for her, but that scene when the bad guys come to kill Beth in her office, kill her assistant, and the guy is so fucking angry at her because she's spitting in his face. I'm going to fucking argue. I'm going to grape you. Mm-hmm. And she goes, do it. I dare you. You ain't got it. You can't get it. And I'm like, she is spitting in his face of him doing this to her. And at the last moment, fucking Rip comes in there and kills everybody.
Everyone.
It's
Yep.
just kills.
Awesome.
I'm like, fuck, Rip is one of the greatest characters on television. I don't know
Yep.
how he's ever going to live that character down as an
Well,
actor.
he's just going to be that character for the rest of his life.
He's stuck with it, dude.
He's Captain Kirk, but Rip,
Captain Kirk, Superman,
Yeah.
fucking got typecast as a
He
badass
just needs
cowboy.
to own it. I mean, there's worse things to be typecast as, right? Than a badass
But I will
cowboy.
tell you this. There is such a different look between Cole Hauser,
Mhm.
everyday actor, and Cole Hauser Rip. Have you ever looked at the difference?
I don't know if I have.
Let me just.
I
I'm
got to
gonna
get
open
going here in
this.
a minute, so make it quick. But let's
I
go.
will.
Mm.
Because here's a prime example. Okay. Here
You're
we
not
go.
actually sharing.
I'm doing in a second. Here we go. There we go. All right. Yeah. See, there he is.
Looks
That's
like Rip.
There's
Put a
Rip.
cowboy hat on.
You know,
Yeah.
a very specific look, right? Very specific look. You go, yeah, that's Rip. That's Rip Wheeler. Yeah. And then you scroll down. Oh, who's that guy? He looks nothing here like he does here.
Well, I can't. His eyes are there.
I
though.
went
They
an
see it.
entire season, dude. I watched the entire first season unaware that was Cole Hauser. And when I read that it was Cole Hauser, I went, get the fuck out of here. And I went back and watched the first episodes. I'm like, holy shit, that really is Cole Hauser.
You ever see that meme out there where a normal guy watches Yellowstone through the seasons, and it goes season 1, it's just like a normal dude, and by the time they get to the current season, the dude's like dressed exactly like Rip with the cowboy hat.
Wrestling Rip, I'm not surprised. But
Yeah.
here, I'm going to show this again. Look at this. This is so fucking crazy looking.
Well, he's a little younger, a little thinner.
He looks younger, but it's him, same
Yeah.
age. It's just he gains a little weight.
Hey man, you should have seen me 30 years ago. I was a stud. It was awesome.
Oh, I've seen pictures of you. In fact, I saw that one picture and I realized it was you, and I'm like, holy shit, you were a stud. Look at
Oh
you.
boy, you're
What
full
the
of
fuck
shit, man.
happened to you?
Yeah, went straight to hell. I get it. I gotta go. I'm gonna bail out
All
here. I
right,
gotta
buddy.
go to
Good
work.
seeing you, man.
So I always love popping in on you guys, seeing what's up.
Oh,
Come
you know
in,
we
come-
love seeing
come,
you, buddy.
Come watch our show tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Salty Nerd Podcast.
Roger that.
We got Gary coming over. So
Gary Beekler?
yep.
Tell him the other Gary's watching. The other white
Okay.
meat.
All right. See you guys tomorrow.
See you, buddy.
Peace out.
Bye.
The other white meat. Oh man. So well, everybody else, I'm sorry, Matt and I just sort of went off on our thing there. Anybody else's thoughts on what's going on with Yellowstone?
I've never watched it.
It's great high drama.
I've heard it's great. I just haven't had the time to get in.
And it's something, once you invest some time, you've got to invest it to really get the best out of it. That's the problem with drama like this. It's sort of like the Mayor of Kingstown. Again, high drama. And you have to have the time to invest in it. You can't just be, what do they call it, a casual viewer.
Yeah.
And really get the value of watching it. You won't be interested in it. You have to invest in the characters and what's happening in the story. And the Mayor of Kingstown, of course, is based on Kingston, Ontario, and the prison there, and the environment of that town. And he brought it to America and said, we'll make it Kingstown instead of Kingston, and we'll make a fictional prison and fictional characters and base it on the real situations of Kingston, Ontario, and the problems they have there. And it's really, I think it's a brilliantly written show. I consider the stuff Taylor Sheridan writes some of the best writing on television. And so far, I've had nobody to offer up an actual argument that he is the best screenwriter working in television today. Consistently. What do you think about that, Keith? Deleted scenes, John, Martin.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen it.
Sure. I mean, having seen other things that Taylor Sheridan has written, I wouldn't be in the least surprised. Yellowstone's something I need to catch up on. I've got like the first 3 or 4 seasons on Blu-ray. I just haven't watched it yet.
A lot of people know he's actually in the show too. Taylor
Yeah.
is plays part of, what is it, Travis, one of the cowboys. You'll see him every once in a while. But the guy is a real cowboy in real life. He was a cowboy. He worked on ranches, and he writes what he knows. And that's why the women, the way he writes his women, is so much better than the way a lot of other people write women, in hard women. These are women, not tough, not. He writes hard women. And one of my favorite films that he wrote was Wind River.
Oh yeah,
with what's her name, Elizabeth Olsen and Jeremy Renner in it. Oh my God! And Gil Birmingham's in it too, and he's a regular on Yellowstone. He plays a local Indian chief or medicine. I think he's a chief, and his daughter gets murdered. And good show, good film. The gunfight in that is in my top 10 list of best gunfights in a film because it is so quick and it's so intense, and the death is just fast, and you're watching left and right, like what's going to happen here.
And when he shows up and he's like almost like this silhouette up against the snow, and you just see that muzzle flash, and you're like, oh shit, man, that was well done.
Oh, and that scene with the corrupt cops in the movie, and they're going, "Agent is at your door right now," and you know, oh my God, those agents have set her up to let those bad guys know she's outside the door, and boom, she gets hit point blank by a shotgun. With the body armor takes a brunt of it, but she got hit by some of those pellets in that shotgun. That's a brutal freaking movie, and I'm a big fan. I like the way he writes. He also wrote Hell or High Water with
masterpiece of the film.
Chris Pine, Jeff Bridges, and what's the other dude's name?
Ben Foster.
Ben Foster. Thank you. Again, powerful writing. That scene at the end where it looked like they were going to have a gunfight, and then the ex-wife and the kids pull up. I guess we're going to save this for another day, huh? Yeah. Well, you know where I live, downtown. Feel free to drop by anytime. We can finish this conversation. Meaning we can kill each other. That's fine. I'm good. Yeah. I'm like, goddamn, who writes like that? Not today. You just don't see that kind of writing, that commitment to storytelling and character development. And he is consistently, he's like had only one, like Sicario and Sicario 2, both written by Taylor Sheridan. My God, have you guys seen that film? Either of them?
Both, yeah.
Outstanding fucking storytelling. I got mad when I watched Sicario the first time because I'm seeing it going through the paces, and I got angry that she got picked to be on this team. Like she's a fuck up. Why is she? And then when I get 3/4 of the way through the film, I realize that's why she was picked. Now I get it, and suddenly I was like, oh, brilliant, fucking brilliant what they did with her.
Yeah, that's the thing is that people walk into that movie thinking she's going to be the hero who's going to right the wrongs. And you're like, absolutely freaking not. She's
absolutely used all the way through the film.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She damn near gets her ass wiped out. And it's the main character played by Benicio del Toro. He's the one who finally tells her. And she's going to shoot him at one point, and he looks back at her. I don't care. Go ahead. And she won't do it. She couldn't do it. Oh, my God. I cannot sing better praises for a writer today than Taylor Sheridan. But anyway, let's move on to I don't know how to feel about this shit. It's tragic. You know, the sub sinking and imploding. And it's people don't realize just how ferocious that was. Basically, you know, the catastrophic implosion of the what's that? I'm sorry, Wayne.
The only good thing about it is they didn't suffer.
That it was quick and instantaneous. Literally, they imploded and disintegrated faster than their brain was capable of receiving the information.
Yeah.
They're just gone. And it says when a submarine hull collapses, it moves inward at about 1,500 miles per hour. That's 2,200 feet per second. The time required to complete collapse is 20 to 22 hundredths of a second, about 1 single millisecond. Wow. The human brain responds instinctually to stimulus at about 25 milliseconds. This is done in 1 millisecond. Human rational response, sense, reaction, action is at best 150 milliseconds. The air inside a sub has fairly high concentration of hydrocarbon vapors. When the hull collapses, it behaves like a very large piston on a very large diesel engine. The air auto-ignites, and an explosion follows the initial rapid implosion. Large blobs of fat, that would be humans, of course, incinerate and are turned into ash and dust quicker than you can actually blink. This is, of course, sourced by David Corley, former nuclear submarine officer.
Well,
My uncle's a master chief in the Navy, and it was about 6 or 7 of us in our family are from that Navy side. One of them is a submariner, and they're like, we always knew if we ever wanted to go, we would hope it would be that way and not like slowly running out of oxygen and getting delirious. If we were going to go, have it be done quickly, and so that you're not suffering, because once you run out of oxygen and there's no,
because those are 2 horrible ways to die, William. Drowning and suffocating.
That's why I did the Army, not the Navy or the Marines.
Right. I learned early on as a paramedic doing water rescue that drowning is traumatic to the body, as is suffocating. And so really to go, that even though it's sad there are no bodies to bury, I don't know if they'll even disturb the crash site. I don't know if they will, because there's nothing.
Why risk for what you're going to bring up? It's not even worth the risk.
It's not worth it. It's really not. But I do believe that this will lead to new maritime laws, and they should exist, that these predatory tourist companies that charge, like, what was it, $1 million a seat on this sub?
250,000.
250,000. Some people, that's a lifetime savings, just, and it's gone. And apparently, from what I was reading early on, is that the hull was only 5 inches of titanium and composite. Hydrocarbons. And whereas for the depth that they needed to go, should have been 7 inches thick. As well as the way it was attached and the depth or thickness of the view screen window was too thin and poorly constructed. So there was a lot of concerns. And one of those is this gentleman by the name of Josh Gates. A lot of us that watch Expedition Unknown, I've been watching him for years. I love this guy. Refused a seat on this sub because he considered it unsafe. And this is a prime example of how lucky we are to still have Josh Gates after this. And then on top of this situation where he made his criticism of this sub, we have somebody who knows something about this shit, is James Cameron. I think he's a bit of a douche nozzle sometimes. A gifted douche nozzle.
He's got 33 trips, though, and he's alive.
He's alive, and this guy knows his shit when it comes to submarines. And Titanic director James Cameron slams Search for Missing Sub as a nightmare charade. Well, it's worse than that, and I'll get into that in a second. But he's like going, he feels like he was aware of this sub, and he should have stepped up. And I think this is where you're going to see a lot of the community step up on this shit, because the home countries where these predatory tourist companies like this come from are going to have to hold the people accountable, and the country needs to be held accountable for the companies that are selling out of their ports to do this shit. This isn't
We're
research.
1 minute behind.
Oh, shit. Okay. Let's go to commercial break. We'll be right back. Hi, guys. This is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
Did you?
What happened?
Hi, guys. This is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration. And Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm gonna take it for the energy. I'm gonna take it for the play. I'm gonna take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing. It works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a Feel the Difference money-back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived! Welcome back to the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA.
So basically, what he says here in that interview, talking about James Cameron, is that he felt there was a problem in his bones on Friday when it was announced that sub was missing. But this is what a lot of people aren't talking about. I don't want to get into the rumor mill or conspiracy stuff, but apparently the Wall Street Journal was made aware that they knew and were going to report on that it was an implosion and it was complete loss, catastrophic loss of life on Sunday. But they were ordered by certain political figures not to do it for political reasons. And so they didn't. But the fact is on Friday, the U.S. Navy knew that it was a catastrophic implosion. They heard it. And they immediately sent a sub out and saw it. They knew about the field between Friday and Saturday. They knew about where it crashed, but they knew on Friday when it disappeared that it was a catastrophic explosion or implosion, sorry. And so you're going to hear a lot of crap. And the fact is, look, this is how it works. The Department of Defense, they keep feelers out all the time in every single branch. And the U.S. Navy has the entire fucking ocean mic'd, especially when it comes to our border shores. And this is off of Newfoundland. And we had mics all in that area. Not to mention, what do you call it? It's sonar. It's a specific kind of sonar. I forget the name of it.
Passive sonar?
No, it's a different word I'm looking for, and my brain's farting right now, and I can't remember. But
I got a problem with all this, though. Real quick, though. One of the reasons why the Navy, even if the Navy knew outright, this stuff making the news, most of that stuff is supposed to be like not be talking about, on CNN and some of these, places where I'm hearing about it. I'm like, that kind of stuff that they have, all that stuff that they have.
Yeah, they'll decide what goes public. Yeah, and they made it public this week. But the fact is, the Navy had informed and spoken with the Wall Street Journal and said that it was an implosion. And the Wall Street Journal was going to run with the story, but was called for political reasons to hold the story and wait. And that's why we got it later in the week, when in fact they've known since Friday that this was a catastrophic implosion and that it was a complete loss of life. So this stuff will be parsed out in the laundry in the long run. But what's important here is that this is terrible. This is fucking terrible. And we need new laws that restrict this shit so it doesn't happen again. Now, agreed, there have been thousands upon thousands of submissions by privateers, okay? Most of them due to exploration, some for treasure and shit like that, recovery, whatever you want to call them. But the fact is this is a different kind of thing. This is tourism. And it's different. It's not research. It's done for entertainment purposes. And that kind of shit needs to be regulated. And these guys apparently, I don't mean to make light of the name, but it's substandard sub. It was not up to snuff to be doing what they were doing. And it cost people their lives. They are going to be sued into oblivion. It doesn't matter what papers were signed before going out there. Negligence is not protected.
That waiver is worth nothing.
It means nothing when negligence is involved. And they're going to be sued into non-existence. It's this is going to ruin lives. And some of them sounds like they deserved it because they did something that was risky for someone else, not them. And it's shameful. But I'm grateful that some people didn't go, like Josh, because if you guys watch that show, what a great show is Josh Gates' Expedition Unknown. The guy's been working within research and the paranormal. He's researched ghosts and monsters. He's gone out looking for cryptids, man. He's a fascinating dude. But his love is for archaeology, and so his new show is focusing almost all on archaeological finds. And he's finding himself connected with a lot of great finds, including hopefully finding the location of the real place Bethsaida, which is the home of Paul, or Peter and his brother Andrew, the fishing village. And they may very well have found it, and he got to be a part of that. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I get excited about geeky stuff like that, science. Just, man, good stuff. But the news is all going to come out.
Watched Geraldo open up the vault and didn't find anything, right?
Oh my God, I was so pissed. I watched that.
I watched it live too. I was
shocked. And I'm like, your career is over.
It was it. That launched his career.
It really did, in a different direction. Because before that, he was best known as a foreign correspondent, war journalist. And then he became something different. But good God, man.
Richer. He became richer.
Much richer.
Wow.
But
can't turn down money.
Nope. And if I had a choice between respect and money, I'd take money.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
But I don't know, man. So let's see. What else are we going to talk about today? Josh Gates, Yellowstone. The Hobbit got fired from Star Wars. Oh, the failure of The Flash. And why are they trying to blame James Gunn, which is clearly still part of the Walter Hamada curse?
With good reason. Not entirely, though. Not as much as proportionately. Here's the problem, and this is, we promoted the hell out of this movie, and you could write a book on the mistakes that not only did the Hamada and TGIF regime make from 2013 on, because this is a cumulative effect, but some of the immediate decisions that David Zaslav and James Gunn made immediately. If you want to if you want to crap on anything that you're
shit, it's okay.
To get going, there is no more destructive word than reboot. If lazy and stupid fucked, the resulting child will be reboot. And your general audience.
No, I'm right there with you on that. I don't like that word.
Yeah.
I do not like reboot.
The big mistake here is when David Zaslav took over and he hired Abdi and DeLuca. He should have let them transition into what James Gunn was doing. Even if you were going to eventually hire James Gunn, that's fine. And he's going to do all his stuff. I'm interested and intrigued with everything he's about to do. But the problem is DC Films doesn't have the credibility to just start over again. You're asking people to give new money when they've watched since 2013 what you've done with their old. So if you give any inclination, this is on James Gunn, Peter Safran, and David Zaslav, that the movies that you're watching are basically a road to nowhere when they bought into it for a universe, that's on them. There was a way to do this. There was a way to transition to what they were doing. They were sloppy, and you just don't have the credibility. It's not just a reboot; it's a disruptive reboot. You've never run the course of any of these characters, and now you want people to get excited about a new Superman when they haven't seen the one that you rolled out for 5 years, with the exception of 2 minutes on Black Adam. So yeah, it's not entirely on James Gunn, but he shoulders a good percentage of the blame for the current situation. Now he's basically tanked Blue Beetle and Aquaman. You might as well just put that on Max.
Well, those are all Hamada projects that he's going to release under his regime.
Let me at least just say this. There is absolutely no way they could ever put Aquaman on Max, okay? Because of the deals that were made for that film internationally. It's the same reason, it's the difference between what happened with Batgirl and what happened with this movie, The Flash, okay? Batgirl was not originally something meant for the big screen. It was something for their streaming service. So the same deals were not in place that you had for The Flash. With The Flash, you had a lot of international deals tied in to this movie. And so there was a lot of financial stuff that they don't talk about that was tied in to not releasing the movie if you decided to get rid of it or put it on streaming. It's part of the reason why Disney's doing so bad right now. Okay, it's a part of the reason why Warner Brothers was doing bad before they actually got into the black earlier this year.
They got into the
black. It's not Warner itself. It was purely Max. HBO Max is the one that went into the black, that started making money. So, because Warner itself was still hemorrhaging.
Yeah, here's a problem. Even though, so you're 100% right about the contractual agreements, they're still going to lose money on it, though.
Oh, of course, they know that. Oh, yeah. They knew that going in. And that's
because this is, well, Keith and I kind of talked about this, that they have 3 projects that they got to release under the new regime that were not produced by this regime. They're part of the Hamada deals, which was Blue Beetle, The Flash, and actually Batgirl was part of that too. And what was the other one? I've just forgot it.
They originally were going to do a Supergirl film, and that.
But no, there was something else.
Thank goodness.
They had plans to do Wonder Twins too, and that got canned.
Black Adam. Yeah, Black Adam was the other one. Black Adam was the other one. And here's what happened with that. The minute that film stopped polling well for numbers, that was when things fell apart for The Rock. And that was when, remember, we got word that an emergency meeting was called. Now, I don't know if Warner called it. I'm supposing that they did. Not Saffron, but Hemdy and called for a meeting with James Gunn. And James Gunn went to that meeting while The Rock was still out promoting the film. And what it is it wasn't making the money they expected right off the bat. It should have been doing better.
Well, their expectations were stupid. First, that movie should have never been made. See, here's the problem with DC films. They have fallen under the weight of stupid-ass expectations from day one. From day one, from 2013 all the way up. They set dumbass expectations based on some other company. And then when they didn't meet those expectations, instead of growing within themselves, they tripped over their own dicks. You shouldn't have had, what expectations were you going to have for Black Adam, a character that no one knows? Yeah, they know The Rock, but do they know The Rock enough to shell out money for a character they don't know if he's not part of a franchise that they do know? Movie should have never been made. I love Shazam. I love both Shazam movies. You don't make those movies. You don't make those Z characters until you've established what's going on with your A-listers. All right, that is an expectation for my customers. Is DC Comics, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and you go from there. So if they had expectations through the moon for C-listers, that's on them. That's bad management.
Oh, of course. And the thing is, the people running everything have been the executives from day one, starting with Kevin Tsujihara and on. You had a bunch of people. And again, what we see with DC is what is wrong with the entertainment industry right now, which is corporate entertainment people that actually think that they're filmmakers. They think they're directors. They think they're writers.
I agree with you on that. Absolutely.
And you've got way too much of their input and stuff when seriously your job is to make sure your corporation doesn't lose money. You allow the talent to come in and do what they need to do, and they've never been allowed to do any of that.
Exactly.
Look. As far as I'm concerned, 75% of the problems with the DCEU was all the executives because of expectations, because of who they didn't like, because of the games that they played. You had a movie almost done with Suicide Squad, and they went back and refilmed it. Now that's the same exact thing that I get on Kathleen Kennedy about. You're wasting money at that point. You should have just released all of that stuff. Now, whether or not you like, the resulting characters in the films that were made, that's one thing. But as a corporation, every single executive who was sitting there waiting to get paid rather than doing what needed to be done to get Justice League made the right way deserves blame. Every single one of them. And they knew that. They knew that. And they even let Joss Whedon off. They hung him out to dry because he did ask for more time. He knew that movie wasn't ready, but they told him no. Now, that didn't cover for a lot of his bad behavior, but I at least know enough to know that he's not completely responsible for what we got. And don't leave off Jeff Johns.
Or Jeff Bird.
Both those guys are they were just bad because he had no experience with this. You cannot do something like this big and screw up this big. Easily.
I know Keith is getting excited when he starts doing this.
Oh, trust me, I feel it. I feel it. This movie paid the price for things that didn't. Say what you want about the Flash movie, and it's not a perfect movie. I saw it several times. I had fun with it. But here's the problem with DC's movies. Each one that comes out has to be the Babe Ruth. It has to hit the grand slam. Yeah. It has to carry the weight for all their other movies. The Flash is on the team, but he's not the Trinity. He's on the bench. He's in the kind of starting lineup, but he's not carrying your franchise. Black Adam films are going to be in the world. You shouldn't have any one of these movies carrying the weight for a bunch of boneheaded mistakes. So I understand the predicament that James Gunn inherited, but he made him and Zaslav made critical errors at the outset that didn't help anything and didn't help their.
Well, absolutely. Let's go back to December because that's when everything went down. And by the way, Shinatsky, I saw what you said. I agree with almost everything you said except for one thing. Rock's ego didn't ruin anything. What ruined everything was not his ego, but the fact he couldn't back it up because the movie tanked. That's what ruined it. Well, if his ego, that movie had done well, everything would have been different. But once it started tracking,
it wasn't his job to back it up.
Once it stopped tracking, that was when the emergency meeting was called with Gunn, with Zaslav, and everything changed right then and there.
Okay, it wasn't his job to back. The Rock, the company, you have multi-million-dollar people behind the marketing and strategy of this movie. The Rock all The Rock did is fill in the void that shouldn't have been there. I don't blame The Rock.
There you go. That's the problem. There was a void, and that's poor management that led to that void. Agreed. By the way, I want to read this real quick, guys. Hold on. You guys know who David Williams is. He's a friend of mine, comic book artist. Did the Bass, I forgot his name, the great Texas Ranger, Black Texas Ranger.
Yeah, Bass
Dave
Reeves.
Williams, Bass Reeves, thank you. David wrote this review. I saw The Flash. It wasn't one of the best comic book movies ever by any stretch, but it also wasn't the worst. I was entertained enough not to walk out. All the actors did their best. They could with the material given. It had a lot of fun things, and as the kids today say, a lot of cringe too. The CGI sucked. Oddly, it almost seemed intentional. Not a single shot did I ever think, wow, that looks so real. Not looking good for the future of DC at the box office. That's actually a good review. I think that's a polite and good review. It says he was entertained, which is really what the movie's supposed to do. It's supposed to entertain us.
Well,
so I consider Dave's review good.
I think the other thing that killed this film was the fact that you had a movie that was announced years ago, and by the time
over 10 years ago,
by the time they got around to writing it, a lot of things had changed. The people they were bringing in to write this weren't that good. They were under orders to make sure the film hit certain things in order to take everything a particular direction, which was different than a lot of the films they had made and released up to that point. So they were going to change the direction of how the entire DCEU goes. And what you had ultimately is a script by someone who I don't think should ever be allowed to make another DC film ever, which is Christina Hodson. And she's one of the two people that James Gunn's bringing in. That's the reason why I'm sitting here going, this is not going to be smooth.
I told you I have no faith right now. I hope I'm wrong. I have no faith in Gunn.
I have faith in Gunn. I do not have faith in some of these people that he's bringing in, because Christina wrote Birds of Prey, or in this case, she rewrote a version of Birds of Prey that was just completely awful. I mean, that film was just bad, and that script made it worse. And now they're letting her, they had her write The Flash. So, from the moment I found out she was writing it, that entire film, in my opinion, fell about 40 points. It lost 40 points immediately. And there's no way you can recover from that because you had a bad script. Ultimately, that really is at the heart of everything that they were doing. And so you're trying to make basically something that was not that good with a lot of editing and cameos and a few other things. You could only take that so far.
But by the way, I did want to go back a little bit because they've been trying to make a Flash movie for a long time.
Yeah.
And it started in 89 with Batman 89. Keith is still animated, moving, and talking.
It was a delay.
Is that what it is? Okay, it's freaking me out. Anyway, Paul DeMeo and Danny Bilson originally wanted to make a Flash movie right after Batman 89. Mm-hmm. And it ended up becoming the TV series, and it was just, I don't know, everything
that TV
went
show
wrong
was
with
great,
that.
but it was too expensive for
it was too expensive, and they weren't sure where they were going with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they would have done better if they'd been given a budget to make a film, and they should have made a film. And then the 90s passed, and we got into the 2000s, and talk began to come around again about a Flash. And you heard Ryan Reynolds, before Green Lantern, he wanted to be in the Flash movie. Remember that shit? Anybody remember that?
Long time ago, like.
It was early 2000s, man.
03,
he
04.
wanted to be, I'm not sure if he wanted to be Barry Allen or which version he wanted, but
he wanted to be Wally West.
Wally West, that was it. He wanted to be Wally West, the smartass. That's right. But it never happened. It never came to fruition. They have almost every decade has tried to make a Flash movie and failed.
Well, the reason why Warner Brothers, for my entire life and even up to this point, their priority, even in comic book sales, even the stuff that they put out, is Batman. Batman is that is their moneymaker. So anything in that era you were talking about, they could have talked about it and drawn it up. It was never going to happen if it didn't have a bat on that, even more so than Superman. If it didn't have a bat,
you remember in '89 when Batman just took off with the movie, right? All of a sudden, DC Comics put all their money into putting out more Batman comics.
Yep.
And they got this false concept because as well as I do, I learned this from working at IDW, that comics stopped making money around 1972 through 74, right in that area. There was a small window where it just was profitable, and then it just broke even. All the money that comic book companies were making then was from licensing and merchandising, and that was it. Comic books paid for themselves, but there's no real profit in comic books. Graphic novels and trade paperbacks, they turn a profit, but not the comics.
That's to this day, by the way. That's not
to this day.
To this day.
And also, as an avid comic person, you know this too, that the number of people reading comics only grow with population. There's not like just a sudden we want to read comics and it just explodes. It doesn't work that way. That was one of the many mistakes they kept making, is they'd put a movie out and then they'd put all their eggs in one basket. and promote the shit out of new Batman comics. And it almost destroyed DC Studios in the early 90s after that. They got into financial woes because they put so much money into Batman comics instead of focusing on all the other characters.
They were also doing deals with they were trying to do deals for a lot of children's toys, getting in with McDonald's and a few other
Happy
things.
Meal. Hey, I got the cups.
Well, that's it.
Man, forever.
Merchandising and licensing. And that is what got Tim Burton fired. Is because of Batman Returns.
Well, yesterday was the anniversary of the release of the first Batman film from Tim Burton. And I got to say, this is a good example of why Kevin Feige was a really cool person to have in the beginning with the MCU and Marvel. Unfortunately, even that's turned bad. So we can, again, as I said earlier, you've had a lot of executives that have been basically forcing a lot of creative people to basically bring to life their ideas. You've had no real creatives involved with a lot of this stuff unless they were someone that the executives thought could take orders. And that has gone all the way up and into the Flash. That's pretty much been everybody. And the only person that was really allowed to do what they wanted to do was Christopher Nolan. Nolan was given a wide berth because he had a contract,
singular vision, and a contract,
and he wasn't put under any pressure to have to do anything else other than what he was doing. So when the executives came to him and asked him to become the guiding force for DC and their future movies, he said no. Not because of anything in the past or anything like that. He said no because that wasn't what he wanted. And then they wanted him to put some of those characters in his movies. He still said no. And he told him, it's like, don't you guys understand what I'm making here? I mean, you understand the creative position that I've taken with these films. This is not me trying to translate the comics. And yet, that became, as Script Doctor told us, that became the guiding principle to all of the films they would make after that. Because the executives wanted a flying Batman, a female Batman, a Batman that runs fast, a Batman that could breathe underwater. They wanted Christopher Nolan's Batman, and they used that as the blueprint for everything that came after. And so,
which is the common mistake, is they want everything to be just like that, and you can't do that.
It was them and their concept versus, or weighed against what Kevin Feige had been doing. And that kind of mentality is the kind of mentality that Kevin Feige had been fighting against, even when he was with Fox. So that was an easy battle to win, because he understood that you had to have very creative people who were on balance, good at what they do, but also fans. You need that balance. And it's something that unfortunately Marvel has forgotten now, which is the reason why we've entered the period that we've entered with them now. So this is, again, it's executives. It's people spending money. They know what the cost is. And some of these people walk around like it's no big deal to just spend money willy-nilly. And again, I bring back up Suicide Squad. It's a fantastic example. You have a film that's nearly done and you spend enough money to basically have shot almost a brand new film in order to get the creative portion of it turned around in a way to where they thought they could actually make money after Batman v Superman went a different direction, which was not the direction that Christopher Nolan had originally wanted. I mean, not the direction that the film was originally supposed to be, because it was supposed to be Man of Steel 2. Again, it's changes like that.
The problem with when it comes to BVS, people can say what they want critically about that movie, but math is math. $871 million. You look at what they're making now with their movies. You look at the average amount of the movies that they've made ever since BVS. They would give their right thumb to be able to pull in.
Oh yeah, no. I like BVS. I like at least the director's cut of BVS.
Yes, I agree.
What it shows is that these executives didn't know what they were doing.
Exactly.
They were the ones that made that mistake. You know, again, you're talking Zack Snyder basically had to make do with whatever he had been given. And while there are people that want to say that he was in control of DC's films, he wasn't. It was called the Snyderverse, but he was not in control. He did not have the same kind of control that Kevin Feige had. He had absolutely no real control except over whatever movie he was in the middle of making at that point.
You know as well as I do, they were trying to get Christopher Nolan to be in control of that.
Yeah, and Nolan didn't want it.
You know, so it is what it is. I do want to read a couple of comments I found interesting. Veritex is here, by the way. Veritex had some great comments here. The problem is movies, comics, or entertainment being cookie cutter is not always a great idea, but going too much against the grain is also dangerous. Cliffs on both sides to avoid. Continued, Dark Knight Rises was like taking a John Wayne Western with all the grit and removing all the heart and soul of the characters that struggle along. What they are making needs to be adjusted for inflation, or at the very least, the rising cost of tickets and ticket prices are ridiculous right now.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking ridiculous, dude.
Well, but again, we've seen this. You know, things are getting so out of control that the marketing of some films costs more than most films that are made sometimes. You know, when you get to that point, you've entered stupid land. And the entire industry needs to just take a step back. Now, the thing is that you can still get away with making movies for $50 million, $75 million, $100 million, but it's gotten executives have gotten so used to gambling a lot of money and hitting big with $1 billion that is still the dominant thought process, at least for a lot of them. So that'll be one of the big tests coming out for DC films in the future. It'll be the budget. You know,
you can't do pick and save Superman though. So you're
going to have
150. You go less than 150. So you get what you pay for in certain situations. Yes. In this landscape of comic book movie making, the fans are conditioned to a certain level. And listen, they're bitching and moaning about CGI that I watched the movie twice. Didn't bother me. But can you imagine if they go pick and save on Superman? You might as well just fold up the tent right there. So they're in that grain there.
Well, he is the character. He is the gold standard. And so I think that James Gunn's future with Warner Brothers Discovery is tied to how well Superman does, because his contract's only for 2 years. So everything he needs to do needs to happen with that movie. I know there's been a lot of stuff announced, but again, announcing is not the same as saying it'll definitely happen. Okay?
That's not good news for James Gunn then, because that movie's not going to do well.
I think it may if it's well written. You got to people look at this point, okay? We are not going to have another successful comic book movie, let alone Marvel movie, now for another year. Period. Not until Deadpool opens. And fans are already starting to get antsy. Now, we've seen people come up with stuff that you didn't expect to be as successful. You know, Puss in Boots, Mario. I mean, you can do it if you have people that are respectful of the source material and people who are talented enough to make it.
He could write Scorsese. James Gunn could put out a Superman movie that is the level of The Godfathers 1 and 2. The problem is you've done so much brand damage, it's not going to matter. Good movies are going to pay, unfortunately, for mistakes that have nothing to do with him.
I could see,
he just doesn't have the time.
But word of mouth also means something. Word of mouth can turn a lot of films around. Not every film, but a lot of films around.
Not after 9 years of damage. Not after 9 years of this type of damage.
I think it can. I think it can, because it didn't take that long to solve the problems with, say, the damage that had been done after Spider-Man 3. They were able to turn around in less than 5 years.
Yeah, but you're talking about one movie that was not as good in a sea of movies. If you look at Sony's movies from the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, not only have they kept, for the most part, a certain level of quality, they kept frequency. There's frequency in what Spider-Man has been done with, no matter whether it's been cartoon or live action. You haven't had that with DC. Not only have you had this nonsense as we all just spoke about, but you haven't had Superman on the screen. It's going on 6 years. That kind of thing hurts your credibility when you're trying to start over.
Yeah, I still have faith in the ability of Gunn as a screenwriter, which I think is really better than most. And again, as one of the architects of the MCU, I trust him more with Superman than I do the MCU with any future movies beyond this point.
Quality-wise, yes, I 100% agree. I just don't think that that's going to be enough right now. Things could change. But once again, I think what DC has done is made it so easy for fans to just put down that toy and pick up a nice, shinier, more organized one.
Mm-hmm.
You're fighting not just against MCU, just other things that take up your time. And what they've done, unfortunately, is they said, basically, you've invested time and money into this in the last 9 years or so, and we pretty much left you holding an empty bag. Now you're asking the same person, many of whom who've watched this stuff to no conclusion, you're asking them to put new money down when their only evidence is what you've done with their old money that they just spent.
Yes.
He may not have the benefit of the doubt. I don't disagree that he's going to put out some great stuff. I think he's a brilliant storyteller. I just don't think that the situation is going to allow for him necessarily to get the time he's going to need to get the traction. And then you're also talking about corporate structure. We may have a new corporation involved, but money is still green. Old people are still greedy. They're on their yachts. They want their dividends. They want their returns. If the expectations, if Zaslav didn't have a meeting saying, hey, we're going to take a kick in the balls these first couple of movies, if he didn't lay that case to the stockholders and the shareholders and his boss, which is the financial, all those people like that, if he didn't make that case and Superman Legacy comes out and makes less than $500 million, the pressure is going to be on. And that's unfair pressure for the movie to have to exist under, but it's reality.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is reality. I have a lot of faith in Gunn's ability to be able to write it, because he's going to have to pour all of that talent into there. He's going to have to take everything he's ever done well and pour it into that one film. And if he's not able to do it, then it's over. And he can go off and do something else, and they'll find someone else to attempt to make something else. Now, for me personally, I think Gunn has the right sensibility as far as the kinds of stuff that he likes to pick. DC has a lot of really cool characters, some of which the normies have never seen before. A Dead Man movie would be phenomenal if you made it right. A Justice League Dark movie would be phenomenal if you made it right.
Doom problem with that is people listen when it comes to the average person, it normally makes up an overwhelming majority of the thing. Justice League Dark is not getting the money to jump out of the pocket no matter how well it's made. Some of these things, and I saw somebody put on the animated cartoon and Batman Beyond and all this, and I'm like, everybody who watches those things thinks that everybody else is watching those things. I remember buying ad time during the original Batman Beyond. So they're not drawing with the people who lived them and it's part of their childhood. The reason why DC animation is gone off of these things is because nobody was watching it. Very few people were watching it when it was on. Yet if you hear about it today, billions of people watch DC animated. Billions of people know these characters that no one else knows. But when you put dollar to stone and actually have to take that risk, you can't ask any company, no matter poorly or well run, I'm going to give you Dead Man, which I enjoy. I love Dead Man, trust me.
Yes.
But I'm a nerd. I'm a card carrying nerd. I am the 3 to 4%er. you're not.
Well, I got to put in my 2
millions on
cents here, because I like Dead Man 2, but I've always wanted to see a live action Spectre.
Spectre could work too, but you don't look. My thing again is you really don't have to spend outrageous amounts of money to make a lot of these things. What you need are people with vision, people who first of all know how to write scripts, and people that know how to direct. And what you really need from a lot of these studios, especially Warner Brothers right now, is you need to stop a lot of these executives from interfering and just hold off. Now, if you're not spending that much money, you're not really gambling as much. I'm not saying that these films would be guaranteed hits, but the amount that you would lose would be nowhere near what they're about to lose on films like Indiana Jones or the Marvels, or what they have lost on a lot of films that have come out just this year. This is outrageous what's been happening over the last few years. And
Black Adam
especially
didn't warrant $260 million. I agree with you. Black Adam,
yeah.
But you take care of your Trinity, and then that allows you to go 70, 80 million on lower budget movies because you built that with the support structure. What DC has done is they've thrown all their monies into things that are not the Trinity. So the Flash, yeah, maybe, but you could have other movies that are subsidiary movies that are not the high budget movies if you had been taking care of your Trinity properly, and they weren't. And that's where it ends with them. You can't.
Yeah, no. I agree with you. The Trinity is important, but that shouldn't stop you from making like films like Kid Eternity. That's a $30 to $50 million movie right there, and you could make that work either as a smaller film or as a television special that you could just stream. You could make look to me. The Shazam movies have been enjoyable, but I have a problem with those films.
They should have never been made. I love both.
Both of those films, it was like not having a real vision overall for how you were going to do a trilogy. The first film should have been nothing but Billy Batson and Captain Marvel. That's it. That should have been your entire.
And I would have preferred, personally, I would have preferred to have a more comic accurate version of Billy Batson and Captain Marvel relationship.
Yes.
But Stephen, did you have something you wanted to add? Because you said something about you have a story about Go Woke, Go Broke. I wasn't sure what you were talking about.
I did. It seems that this is slightly off topic, but it seems that Paramount Plus has made a series of cancellations that I don't think we're going to get too heartbroken over. And one of them is Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies, and Star Trek Prodigy as well.
Oh, well, Prodigy wasn't.
Well, nobody was watching them.
No, exactly.
Prodigy's original contract wasn't for that long anyway. I had heard that I think it was Valiant Renegade. No, it was Midnight's Edge had reported that the contract agreement for Prodigy was only a limited time anyway. So we were all expecting when they were going to announce that it wasn't coming back. The Pink Ladies one, that was just an ill-conceived idea.
As far as the other ones go, I know the viewership wasn't there. Prodigy, I wasn't sure. I thought it was made for kids. Aren't kids watching it?
And that's the mistake. That's the mistake. That Star Trek's always been for kids. So to make a kid-centric Star Trek show, that was.
It wasn't kid-centric. It wasn't. I watched it. It wasn't really kids-centric. It was actually pretty deep, actually.
What was the viewership on it?
I don't quite know because I don't know where to go get there.
Let me go look it up.
But it's not necessary. It's the budget. The budget to make it just doesn't justify. And where you're at with Paramount Plus, it has nothing to do with certain content as far as like whether people consider it woke or anything like that. It has to do with Paramount Plus overextending themselves with other things, and other things are making money. The financial shift where things that are making money for them are different than what they set out when they plan these shows.
Yeah, Nickelodeon was really the one responsible financially for that show, and it was only originally a 2-year thing, is what I had heard.
Yeah,
based on the ratings, that would dictate whether or not they would come back, and the ratings have not been there. Again, this is one of those things where The reality of producing a lot of this material comes down to both to both money and ratings. And if you don't have both, then your projects are stiff.
Well,
and
where are they not making it? Because what I'm looking at right now, I'm taking a peek at this here. They've got really good score on both. Because I don't care what the critics say, but when you see that they're closer, they're within 20 points of each other. That's usually a good sign. So it's got a good audience score. I went and looked; it was 13.4 times the number of viewership that you would see in streaming videos. So it was doing fairly well.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly why it got canceled. Was it
got
purely
flashed.
over
It got
budget?
1990 flashed. That's basically what happened. It's doing well enough as far as viewership goes. But even if you look at Flash's ratings back in 1990, I watched the show. It was on actually Saturday night when you could still watch shows on Saturday night. The ratings for the Flash were decent. They were good actually, but there was no amount of viewership that was going to justify the budget of the Flash on that platform, and that's the same with Prodigy. You could have something that is doing well and people are watching it, it's still not necessarily justified, especially when you talk about streaming, where the advantage in the revenue is collective. So it's a casualty of collective advantage. It had nothing to do with the show or its quality. It has to do with it. Just no matter how good it was going to be, it wasn't going to justify the budget that you were.
Well, this show, unlike some of the other Star Trek shows, actually seems to have had an audience, and it's sad to see that when I mean, personally, when I saw it, I watched part of one episode. I'm like, I'm out. But I can see where kids will like this thing because it was about kids.
Well, they were hoping to launch a lot of products based on this, and even possible theme park rides and other things. It's just the fact they
is that really the crux of it, though, Keith? I mean, are we looking at something that
they were going to launch all kinds.
The budget? I think the budget could have been forgiven if they were making the money somewhere else, in merchandise and licensing. So apparently, that's where it was tanking because
that's where
it has
Disney
the advertisers.
Has a huge advantage over everybody. By the way, Disney has a massive advantage over everybody in the game because their money doesn't. They make money from entertainment and movies and stuff like that. But the $38 billion that they pull in from their parks helps a lot. You can pad a lot of losses with $38 billion.
Yeah, but that is still shrunk though. They
have
a massive hit in their parks and their merchant. Look, you can have a lot of money, but if merchandise isn't selling, you're just burning money at that point. And the merchandise.
I want to remind you when you and I started this show a few years back, Keith. What did we say? There's one company that has the deepest pockets, and it's Disney. This is right when they're starting out to do the whole streaming war thing with everybody, and we've watched them hemorrhage money to a degree that even they couldn't survive that without having to start firing people and shutting shit down. Amazon, Bezos is feeling it with the shit going on at Amazon. That's why you're starting to see him put in more shit like Reacher, for example, shows and films that he knows are going to draw an audience. And Paramount's got to make the same move. And Disney clearly just fired people because they're like, you guys aren't helping business, you're hurting business. If your job hurts us making money, you have to go. And this whole thing about social politics hurts business. It always hurts business. It's one thing if you take the stand that you want to be a good person and make good films that everybody can enjoy. That's good. But when you start to nitpick and start doing things that we've seen over the last 10 years, it's done actual damage to the value of what they do. To where I don't know how some people are still working Kathleen Kennedy. I don't get it. Kathleen Kennedy. Kennedy makes no sense to me. Can somebody explain Kennedy?
She's well connected, and that's it. That's the only thing I can come up with. That's
she knows where the bodies are buried.
That's what's it. Really, it is. She does.
Again, you can't make the kind of financial mistakes that she has made and be anyone else and keep your job.
There are some really good directors out there that made one mistake and were fired, and producers too. And you look at Bob Evans, one of the greatest producers in the history of Hollywood. You know who I'm talking about? The Godfather, Love Story, so many fucking movies. Constantly had his head on the chopping block. Constantly having to prove himself every day to the lyrics being sung at him. What have you done for me lately? You know, and you just, man, the level of commitment to some of these people that are so destructive and absolutely to the company's pocketbook. It blows my mind.
Again, this is what you have here is just you need to just be aware that audiences are reaching a breaking point with a lot of this stuff, and that money's tight for people. You can't keep expecting people to bail your fat out of the fire if you go overboard and spend way too much on a pet project or something that you think is going to change how we live to the point where it's on level with just the wheel. You can't anymore. You can't just throw money at things. You've got to make stuff that is good. And Warner Brothers has a few things that they've done right. You know, Joker was a good example. You spend a little bit of money, people show up. You know, we got the same thing with Top Gun Maverick. You know, just give the people what they've always wanted, and you get a good return. And it doesn't matter who makes it. It's just the fact that you got to follow a very simple formula. And you shouldn't just go based on, well, in the past, we've done this. Well, over the last 3 years, we've seen that really hadn't helped, especially a corporation like Disney. When you have product lining the shelves of dust on them, that's not a good sign. You know, that means nobody's buying what you're doing. And a lot of the toy companies have stopped dealing with Lucasfilm on a lot of the stuff that they want to do. And other brands, if you're not selling toys, the toy companies don't want to deal with you. And that was one of the major things even about Star Trek. It's what we've been noticing for years. Well, you can have all the new programs you want, but if you're not selling merchandise, that's it.
It seemed like the toy company was so ahead of the curve because when JJ asked them to stop making classic Star Trek toys, the company said, no. He says, yeah, but it's in direct competition with my characters. And they went, we don't care.
Those toys were gosh.
Is going to make money. Ours will.
But here's the thing, though. When there was no Star Trek on TV from 2005 to pretty much whenever, there was no Star Trek toys being made or selling there anyway. So it's
actually
it's never stopped selling. It's never stopped
selling. This is information from Paramount themselves who put that out. What I'm saying is that the new stuff doesn't sell at all. That stuff that they put out for J.J. Abrams' first movie.
Dude, I live in a city that had the Star Trek experience, and they were suffering.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, they were selling the occasional items to people. Look, they kept their core base audience. But the thing is that you can't be doing worse than what you're saying with Star Trek on the air. This Star Trek's on the air right now, and it's like that with all the new stuff. You can't do that.
I beg to differ on that. I being somebody who sells Star Trek toys, and I mean, you know, and goes to get and hunt down Star Trek toys. It was like trying to find water in a desert when Star Trek wasn't on TV for 12 years.
So how's your Discovery merchandise doing?
They didn't put a lot of it out. That's the thing, though. The toys no longer. That's an antiquated. That's not a revenue source for them anymore that they invest in. That's been that way for 10 years now. That's nothing new.
It's something that they went ahead and tried to make happen because Kurtzman wanted that stuff. CBS wanted that stuff. Now Paramount didn't want that, but CBS wanted it. And the quality of the merchandise that they put out for JJ's first Star Trek movie was piss poor. I have one of their tricorders. I bought it in Hawaii. It's that thing's crap.
All right, guys, I hate to do it, but
we have 1 minute.
We're at the end of the show. I need
Yep.
to do my thank yous to everybody. Thanks for showing up, William. Thank you, Keith, for being here. Josh Wolfen, thanks for being here. You are there, right? That's not just a picture of you, right? John, move. John, move. John, move. It's a photo. He's not really here. Stephen,
blink twice if
thanks
you
for
need
being
help.
here, buddy. Exactly. Martin, of course, thank you for being the right side of my brain. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Let's get to that. Occam's lightsaber. Fuck you, Martin. I know that's you. Socks Bulletins. Andy Morrow. Anima Confusa, love of my life. Penny was here. Arwen Avalon, the Peter Vickman fan site. Monkey Jeebus, thank you. Come again. Arwen, you love Arwen so much you mentioned her twice, Martin. That's really nice.
That
Boosh
is true.
McFadden, Scribe Light, Read by Nature, Coach Dragon, Kingsport Cal, Connie Clearly, E. Clay Thomason, the real Sean Kimmel, or Crummel. I'm sorry, Kimmel. Let's see. Oh my God, finding a name. Destiny Captain, Shinatsky, Words and Pictures, Veritax, Wadliki, Real Wade Nation Gaming, Awesome One. Let's see. And that's it. I think that's everybody. All right. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. I hope you guys have a great Friday and Saturday. Don't forget, we'll be back here tomorrow to talk about Star Trek, the animated series. It's going to be fun. What a great series that was. Canon. It is part of Star Trek Legacy. With that, everybody have a great Friday, and we'll be seeing you later. Yeah. Have a good one. Yeah.
Those sons of bitches.
Ma, I'm doing a show.